today we are going live, and I feel like I've never cooked really a meal in my life, but right now, today, we're gonna teach you how to make a 2x4, and I feel like I'm on one of those morning shows, like one of those daytime TV shows, and I'm really, really excited. I'm gonna have help from my husband, Brad, who also is the co-founder of Online Pilates Classes.com. So this is a 2x4. Why would you make a 2x4? We'll get into that in a minute. But I want to talk about why I'm really excited for the series that we're doing this month, every single Sunday coming live to show you how to make a piece of Pilates equipment you can have at home or in your studio. And the reason for that is honestly, like, Pilates equipment can be so expensive. I try not to add up all the costs of all the things that we have at this house. And I'm making the next Pilates deck, which is our 6th deck. It's called Accessories, and we're in the process of that. It'll come out next year, so you can get on that wait list. And I have this desire to make sure that most of the things in that deck you can make at home versus have to buy, because there's a few things you're gonna have to buy and they can be quite expensive. But I wanna make the majority of the deck, like 75% of the deck, something you can make at home. So we're gonna make a 2x4 today. Brad, do you want to come on in?
Hello.
Say who you are.
My name is Brad. Thanks for being here this morning. This is actually really exciting.
Yeah, he's our handy.
I'm the
handyman.
resident handyman.
Yeah.
And honestly, this isn't that overly complicated.
No, I probably could have figured it out myself, but I had you.
Yeah.
And what we discovered is, like, he made it much nicer than I would have. So.
Yeah, this is our test run here. So this is the one we bought. This is amazing and beautiful. Yeah. This is the one that we made ourselves. Yeah. And we're going to make a second one of these today right here with you. And we're going to show you the process. Yeah,
so what you need to get is, would you call this a 2x4?
You would.
But how can some people say that 2x4s are not really 2x4?
Because 2x4s are not 2x4. How about that?
Okay.
So if you go to the hardware store and you say, I'd like a 2x4, they're actually going to give you something that is 3.5. I'll actually just come out here and show you. It's 3.5, weirdly, by 1.5. So why is a 2x4 actually 3.5 by 1.5?
We don't know.
I don't have the answer to that question.
Why do we even use this system that we use to measure things and the rest of the world uses something else? I don't know.
But it's going to be helpful to get a tape measure.
By the way, if you forget the tape measure, we filmed our whole adventure getting all this stuff yesterday. Most hardware stores have tape measures, and we just walked around with one of theirs, and it was a try before you buy situation. So
an old thin yoga mat that you don't care about.
Yeah, and if you do want to pick the color of your 2x4s, then guess what? The yoga mats come in every color.
Yeah, they do.
One of our OPC teachers actually found a leopard print yoga mat, and so her boards are leopard print.
That's pretty cool.
I know, it's pretty cool.
Pair of scissors to cut said yoga mat. You're going to want a staple gun. And
this is extra.
This is kind of extra. This is super fun. This is, it's called a chalk line, where you use it when you're trying to cut a board. And we're going to just use the chalk to snap across the yoga mat to make it easy to find the cut.
Otherwise,
you don't really need it, but
you know, it helps you cut a straight line.
Yeah.
Okay, so what you'll want to do, I'll just explain something for a second. So the bottom of this is literally Naga hide on wood. Okay, so there's no cushion here whatsoever. Brad's gonna come closer. So this is just Naga hide on wood. So when we made this, I was pretty intentional to only have one yoga mat on the bottom of this, and then the top they put some cushion on there. I don't know, maybe to make it feel better. And so in order to do that, what we did was make a 2-fold on the top, so it actually is quite nice. This thing.
So we doubled up the top.
Yeah. This thing around the bottom, I just want you to know, because Brad tried to say, oh, it's to keep it from flipping. That's not it at all. I've seen 2x4s where the same company who made this one put this in the middle. So it's clearly wherever the seam is that they're putting this. So hide the nails or the staples that we used. And we were really intentional to make sure that the staples are only on one side. So if I was to use this, my feet would never have to touch a staple. Yeah. You're pretty good. Okay. So,
by the way, if you're wondering what this is just extra chalk to go in the chalk line. Not really necessary.
Yeah. Also, again, the chalk line, is extra.
It's fun. It's fancy.
This is because I asked Brad.
This is the most important.
The staple gun's the most important. Okay, so Brad, show them how to do this because also you did the nicest lines.
Right.
Okay.
So basically, we're going to start with our 2x4. This is already cut to be 18 inches long, and we just cut it. Didn't have to measure the rest because it is 1.5 by 3.5 here.
By the way,
which is the same measurements, and this one cut.
And I also want to say, like, most hardware, if you go to a smaller hardware store, like a locally owned hardware store, a smaller chain, they will often just cut these things for you. I have told many people to do this, and they literally just go to hardware stores and they're cut for them. So we cut it ourselves because we could.
Now we're gonna imagine that it's already stapled. So I'm gonna let that drop down here, and we're just gonna find the approximate length. So it's gonna go over a few times, right? And so that's where we're going to want to cut our line. So all I've done here is I've rolled it up, and so we've got a double layer on one side, a single layer on the bottom, right? But before we do that, because I want to get it exact, before we cut, I want to imagine that we're going to staple this just
on this
just
side of
on the lip.
Yeah, we need a little more.
It could also be why it's unstable. I actually want to staple it on the side.
Okay.
We're modifying
a little differently because he felt that this was unstable. I will say I think it was user error because I did not have an instability.
We're gonna keep the bottom totally level.
Flat. Okay.
And so we'll line this up right on the edge, and we'll be stapling in to the side to hold this.
Okay.
So I'm going to pull it really tight to make sure that there's no extra space when I'm rolling it here, because what we're going to do, we're going to get the tape line, or we're going to create this line, right? So we're going to roll it over one time, then that's going to be the bottom, right? So this will be the top, that'll be the bottom, and then we're going to give the top that double layer we want. All right, and then lastly, we're gonna roll the side one more time because we're gonna end up stapling it on the side again.
Yeah, but they're gonna want to see this fancy tape line.
Yeah. So
let's turn
here's
it around.
What we've got. We got this rolled so that we can see. You got double layer on the top, single layer on the bottom. One of your sides, actually both of your sides is going to have a double layer here. So here's what we're going to do. This guy's the tape line. Before you do that. And it's got this little hook. So this guy comes off like this, and it's going to spit chalk everywhere, and you just hook that there, and then we're going to snap it. You're going to have to snap it, love, because I don't have my board. So unroll it one, unroll the whole thing one. Yeah, there you go.
Boom! Look at that line. A lot of extra chalk, but look at that line.
So if you can't see what we're doing here, what just happened? Oh yeah, you can clearly see.
You can totally see it. They can see it.
They
can see it. So now he can cut along that line and know that it's going to be exactly straight.
Yeah, so we can.
I'll get these out of the way.
Get rid of that. So now we're going to just cut along the line.
So the reason for the 2x4, because this is like, I think in the show where they start to talk about why they like chocolate cake or what they also like to make eggs with. So the reason for the 2x4 is it actually helps create stability and mobility in your ankles. You're like, what, both? Yes, because it actually requires your heels to be able to reach down below the level of this board. And then you have to hold your ankles still while moving your legs around. At the end of this making, we'll actually do the 2x4 exercises together. We do have them already filmed on this channel. So here you go. Next step, to be continued on why you do this.
To be continued. So this time we decided we're going to staple this into the side. That's going to get us started. So I'm just picking the very middle of the yoga mat, and all I'm doing here is I'm going to wrap the first line around and staple it along the length of the board towards the bottom, right? And like I said, the whole goal here is just to give you something to pull against as you tightly wrap this around the board.
Yeah, you want it to be really tight so that it doesn't feel slippery underneath your feet, because the exercise is hard enough. All right, he's going to keep stapling. You get the point. It's going to be along the edge. So there are 3 exercises you can do on this 2x4. One is with parallel legs apart. One is with heels together, toes apart, and then there's the single leg, of course. And I love to use these. Typically, I'll use them not as a warm-up unless I'm already warmed up, like I went for a long walk or whatever. But if I'm just going to start my Pilates practice, I'll usually start with the mat or the reformer and then come over to the 2x4 when I'm a bit more warmed up. But you can do this at home as like a daily homework. Do we not like one of our staples?
We don't like one of our staples, and I actually need to get a pair of pliers. So
okay.
Hold that thought.
So, thing that people forget about the feet is that the feet are actually connected to the entire body. If you want to think about your car, you would never let the alignment of your car be off, but we actually let the alignment of our body be off all the time because we actually wear shoes that tell us how to be aligned. We walk on the outsides of our feet, or we stand on the backs of our feet. And so what the 2x4 helps us do is actually spread the weight across the ball of the foot. You cannot do the exercise of 2x4 if you let your ankles roll out or roll in. If you're a hypermobile person, you're like, I don't need that mobility. Then the stability part's going to be really hard for you, right? If you're a really tight person, it's going to feel miserable. But I really do appreciate this tool that Joseph Pilates gave us, because it really helps us to connect our feet to our seat, but also realign this machine we have. Okay, here we go. We got a plier. So you may want a plier if you don't like your staple. So add that to the list of things that you may need.
Yeah, bring some pliers.
Yeah. All right. So
now we've got this basically. Oh, you know what? That must be a knot in the wood, because that's the second time in that same spot.
Oh.
All right. So we don't like that spot.
We don't like that spot.
We're just gonna not do that. We're good.
I think we're solid.
All right, so here, the reason we did this here is because it gives us a line to pull against, so we can make it really tight as we're wrapping it around. So we're just going to roll it now. That's going to be the top. And if we measured it properly here,
we did.
This comes straight to the edge of the other side. So now we can do the same thing, but this way.
Okay.
All right, I kind of always start in the middle and work my way out. And I like to put a staple every inch or so. Oops.
Woo.
All right, good thing we got that already handled.
The reason to do the single leg 2x4 exercises is because you have one leg that's a little more dominant than another. So I like to do both. Now, if you're going to do the single leg, you're going to want something for balance, like a gondola pole or a wall nearby. But you can do the 2x4 exercises after a long walk, after a jog. If you don't do Pilates at home, this could be the Pilates you do at home. And again, it's going to be really, really key for actually connecting your feet to your seat. But something that you will learn the more you do this is how much your stomach is involved. Brad is learning this exercise. He did it for the first time yesterday.
I did.
All right, so now we got to do the edges.
Yeah, right. So now we've got, look at that. We have totally wrapped, stapled across. This one isn't quite as in a nice little row as I did the other one. Where did it go?
Oh, it's right here. Well, it's because you're kind of
The one
doing
I
it
did
live.
yesterday. Yeah. But still.
No one's going to judge.
Yeah. Now the problem is we got too much overhang on the edge, right? So how do we get rid of all this extra? We're going to cut it off. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to fold it in like we're wrapping a present, okay? But we've got some extra in here, and I'm going to show you how to get rid of that extra layer. You're basically going to take the corners, and you're just going to need to cut the 4 corners open so that we can fold them, and I'll show you what I mean by that.
So he's going to cut along the edge of each corner. So
I'm taking my scissors, and I'm literally matching the 4 corners of the board, and I'm going to cut 1, 2, and 3, and 4 to give us that flexibility. So hang with me here.
So that's 4 cuts, and then also because you have extra layers in there, you're going to cut that inner layer out as well.
Yeah, we're going to be cutting the inner layer as well. That's right.
And that is what's going to create, this is so fun because we have the finished product. That's what's going to create this nice fold here. All right.
So I made 4 cuts, right? And so we've kind of now, you can see the 4 cuts that I made, right? And we're going to get rid of the inside extra layers. We don't need those. So we're just going to cut them off.
Brad's family has a whole Christmas wrapping situation at their house.
Station.
It's a station. And it gets put out, like, I don't know, sometime in the fall, and it doesn't get put away until we arrive and wrap our presents, which is so kind of them. And I have the ugliest wrap presents because I used to work at a retail shop where we just did bows. And I was an excellent bow person because I could do it so the bow would be flat, the thing would be flat on the bottom. That all being said now, it's been so long I haven't been able to do that. So look at how good this is.
All right, so we've got we got 4 flaps here. And this one isn't laying very cleanly, so I'm just going to trim it so that we know that we're really just getting it out of the way. So we're going to be putting the small ones in first, okay? And then I'm just going to staple them twice just to hold them. And then we're going to be putting, now these are obviously too long, so we're going to cut these. But what I like to do is, if this is the top of your board, the top flap should be on the outside, right?
Yeah.
So that it looks nice.
Yeah.
So make sure when you're cutting this or when you're layering this, the bottom comes in first and then the top's going to come down over top. Now we don't want all this extra flap in there, so we're going to cut this again. So let's line that up. We're going to figure out where the cut is. With the yoga mat, what's kind of cool is that it's got the lines already built into it. So I can cut a really nice straight line and not have to worry too much about it. So as much as I love my chalk line, it might be unnecessary.
Yeah, well, unless you have one of those other mats. Like somebody might, I don't know if anyone would cut up a Lululemon, but you know, someone could do it. Someone might like the color or something like that. Once you have your 2x4 ready to go, he's going to make a couple more staples. You did 3 on this one. Put this somewhere where you will use it. So try not to put it like away in a drawer or something like that. Put it out. Mine happens to live right where I can see it. So I do grab it as part of my practice, you know, so that I use it regularly. When we did this with Brad for his first time yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
One of the things that you'll recognize is that if you try to use this like you would do a squat at the gym, it's not going to work so well because it's not about sticking your butt out when you do it. You want to almost like slide down an imaginary wall. You kind of have to pretend that you have something balancing on the top of your head, right? So that you can do this exercises. And it's quite a fun thing. Again, it'll take like 2 to 3 minutes. So imagine like if you can get 2 to 3 minutes of Pilates a few times a week, just using you probably have a 2x4 in your shed.
There we go. Check it out. So we've now done one of the sides. And like I said, make sure that the top stays the top. You got your bottom edge as your bottom. And then we just have to do this other side. And we are almost done, y'all.
Yeah.
What are we talking? 10 minutes here?
I know. Once you have everything you need, yes, it's really great. I mean, I really appreciate how easy this can be to make and that anyone can make it. And like, you don't have to really have the fancy tools. Like the chalk was just like, that was fun. But like a staple gun, most of us have. Most of us have an old yoga mat we don't use. And you might, if you don't have a 2x4, your neighbor probably does. Like, look at a house that's being built recently. They throw things away. Like, you just need, it doesn't have to be a pretty piece of wood. This piece of wood was ugly. It was in the sale rack for a reason.
Yeah, we bought a warped piece of wood because we didn't need the whole thing.
I told my dad yesterday, I said, yeah, we got a piece of wood for like $3.50. 6 feet of this 2x4, and he's like, I said, yeah, it was warped. He's like, you just cut the warp out. Like, he was just like, he didn't know what we're making, and he's like, that's not a big deal. Like, yeah. So it's quite nice when you can make something like this. It's not like making a reformer, but I'm on this mission because I think too many people think that the way to do Pilates is to go to a reformer class, and like, that is a way of doing Pilates, but it's not the only way, and this is a system. And the decks that I created were hopefully to help you see that it is a system, right? That things go together. In fact, starting this winter, the reformer decks will have the complementary mat exercises on them, so you can see how the reformer and the mat go together. Our Cadillac tower deck already had complementary exercises on the Cadillac and tower, but then related exercise on the mat and reformer, so you can see how they go together. The chairs deck had complementary chair exercises and related mat and reformer. The barrels deck, which is shipping in a few weeks, that has the exact same thing. Why? Because it is a system. And even if you don't have access to all these different pieces of equipment, because you don't necessarily need to, you can do just the mat. It's important that you see how the system goes together. That's what I'm wanting to do. So as we're preparing for this accessories deck, you having access to a 2x4 that we didn't actually do the math, but let's just say. So the board itself was 6 feet when we bought it. It was a few dollars. So let's just say we only had to buy the 18 inches that we needed, probably $1. This yoga mat we actually did go out and buy because I didn't like the color of ours. Our old one, it was $10, and we still could probably make another 2x4. So we could have made 3 2x4. So that's $3.50. The staples from the staple gun, I don't know, $1. You know, if you had to buy the staple gun, I guess that would make it more. But I would say we made this for $5 instead of $130. Okay, and I'm not knocking the companies that want to charge $130. I agree, everyone should get paid, but that's a lot of money plus tax and shipping, and you have to wait months for this stuff to be made.
Out the door is more than $5 because we still had to buy the yoga mat, even though we only used a third.
Correct.
So like total spend, we bought a board, we bought the yoga mat, so maybe we're looking at $20 to $25 of parts.
Yeah.
And then you're cutting it down, and you could make 2, like we just did. For
Honestly, we could have made a third.
I think we could have made a third.
We could have made a third. And we might, just because I don't want to throw that mat away.
Yeah, well, so we're going to use these or
what?
Yes.
Okay, so let's make some space. But I mean, come on, $25, like if you're only making one, it's still a better deal than $130. It's still way better than waiting for the companies that make these 2x4s right now. They definitely take months to do anything. So I'm going to put
it that way.
Yeah.
So I can just put them there for now.
Okay.
Here we go.
All right, guys. You need to take your shoes off.
Yep. Also gonna have to move back a little bit.
All right. So once you have this 2x4, I'll wait till he gets it back a little bit more so you can see what's going on with the feet. These are cheats, my little toe spacers. So I'm going to be a human like everyone else. I could move back a little bit. You still can't see There you go. There we go. There we go. Welcome to my whole studio. Okay. So you put the balls of your feet on your 2x4, and I'll do it sideways. So you can do it 4 ways. Okay. So, ideally your heels touch the bottom. Now, if you don't have that mobility yet, it's totally fine. You do the best you can. Okay. You put your hands on your hips. I like to put my hands behind my head because it helps me connect my upper back muscles. And then we're going to keep the heels down.
How close are your feet together?
They're about your hips distance apart. They're not too far. Okay. Yeah, like a fist of your own fist. So then, without sticking your butt out, and Brad's already arched, he looks like this. Yeah, you look like this. Okay. So yeah, no, don't be so dramatic. Just breathe. Breathe back here. Yes, there you go. Okay. So now we'll bend the knees with the heels down. Then you're going to lift your heels up and maintain bent knees. And then you're going to straighten your legs. And then you're going to lower your heels. So breathe into your low ribs in the back. Yep, there you go. Bend your knees. Lift the heels. Straighten the legs. Lower the heels. Bend the knees. You have to use your stomach. Oh, lift. And straighten and bend. Then we can reverse it. Lift the heels, bend the knees, lower the heels, straighten the legs. Lift the heels, bend the knees, lower the heels, straighten the legs. And then you would do a single just by, you can take the leg forward or backward. I like to take it back, and you bend, lift,
oh wow,
straighten.
Are you supposed to use the wall?
Well, you can use a gondola pole. I'm just using a finger on the wall. Oh. We have a gondola pole now. It's in the hallway.
Want to get it?
Yeah, I get it. We made this one too. Lift, straighten, and then reverse lift, bend, lower. The hard part is when you lower the heel. So when you do this version, this is my new gondola pole. By the way, they just make them 6 feet long, so you don't have to do anything fancy. The hard one with this version is like when you lift the heel and you bend the knee, to lower the heel without straightening the leg. Because you got to do it separately. A lot of hypermobile people will shove the knee back. Lift the heel, bend the knee, lower the heel. Ah! That's my bad ankle. And then you can see my balance is like way different. So then you can reverse, bend the knee, lift the heel, straighten, boom. Want to try?
Nice job. Sure.
Thank you.
Sure.
So this is your 2x4. This is so fun.
So you're putting one on, and then one leg is back.
Yeah, I just reach it back from like your hamstring glute.
From your thighs.
Yeah. So lift your hip points up. It's from your thighs. Your thighs is all the muscles that don't include your hip flexors. All right. Yeah. And you could reach the leg forward. I need to stretch my hip flexors, so I take the leg back. If you had weaker hip flexors, you'd reach the leg forward.
Much
harder?
Well, it's a lot more weight on one leg.
Yeah, yeah. But it helps you identify, like I should do my left side first, then my right side, then my left side. All right, loves. That's how you make a 2x4. So when you make yours, I would love for you to tag me on Instagram that you made it. I'm at Lesley.Logan. You can ask questions in the comments below. We can answer your questions. We go live on Sundays. And next week, we're going to make the sandbag, another amazing tool that costs way too much money online that you can use to create the arm back connection. So this is the feet to the center. The next one's going to be the arms to the back. And again, another great thing that you can do at home in between your Pilates sessions at a studio, or in between doing your workouts at OPC, or after you do your work at OPC if you have a little more time to move your body. Thank you so much for watching this. Thank you, Brad, for your amazing talents with a staple gun and a pair of scissors. And y'all have an amazing day. Thank you so much for watching.